18 years since South Africa last led the continental body,
the spirit of Madiba is watching over us. I imagine him telling you, Cyril, you are loyal to our struggle for Africa. You know that Africa needs leadership. I look forward to you doing your best.
On Sunday, it was the Southern African region's turn to take up the helm from North Africa. The top three priority during Ramaphosa's year-long term: gender equality, conflict resolution in line with this year's theme of silencing the guns, and climate change. While admitting that conflict continued to weigh down on Africa's development plans, without mentioning names, Ramaphosa took a swipe at outsiders who fuel conflict in Africa. An international summit on Libya in Berlin last month, aimed at reducing international interference in the Libyan conflict, has failed to bear fruit on the ground.
We must also deal with the actions of other countries outside of our own continent that are fighting proxy wars and fueling ongoing conflicts on our continent.
On the African Continental Free Trade Area, the president urged for the fast-tracking of infrastructure projects on the continent, key in the free movement of people, goods and services. But here too, he had a word of caution.
We must all ensure that the AfCFTA does not become a conduit for products with minimal African value addition to enter and penetrate our local markets under the guise of continental integration. There must be a reasonable standard set for what constitutes a product that is proudly made in Africa.
On gender equality, he proposed that the next 10 years are declared the decade of African women's financial and economic inclusion.
It is not unreasonable to advocate for preferential public procurement legislation to advantage women-owned businesses and for the establishment of preferential trade and customs regimes for women. It can be done, and we must do it so that we empower the women of our continent.
The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned that time is fast running out for the developed world to support Africa's efforts towards adapting to the effects of climate change.
We need more ambition in mitigation, especially for Africa's sake, but also more ambition on adaptation and finance to help Africa build the resilience of its countries and communities and allow for effective recovery and reconstruction.
The African Union will now have to focus on marshalling funds to be able to bolster the work of the underfunded peacekeeping troops on the continent, and in some cases campaign to have their mandates revised from peacekeeping to enforcement if it's to realize its dream of silencing the guns. Sarah Kimani, SABC News in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.